What's up, everybody? Eric Solo Box out in the shop this morning producing another batch of boxes. This is by far the most precise batch of boxes I've built to date, and just thought I'd talk a little bit about why that is. A lot of it has to do with the bending. Like, I'm forever chasing the perfect bend. I've mentioned that quite a few times on this channel, but something became aware to me with this brake the other day, and I fixed it. I was really having a hard time getting a real clean offset. That's the gap where you make the radius for the for any bend on the box, and trying to get the radius the same all the way down. Just, I could never do it, and the problem was, and actually you can see where I cut this channel in half trying to make it into two different pieces, because these bolts adjust that in and out. There's a lot of adjustments going on in the machine to begin with to try to get a good bend out of it. But what I discovered is that this channel, it wasn't flat. When it was milled at the factory in China, they didn't mill that flat, and so I pulled the pieces off, ran them through my mill, flattened them out, and now when I put these pieces on here to make bends, they all line up nice and straight. I don't know why I didn't recognize it before, but anyway, getting way better bends out of this machine now than what I was before. And also this machine, these teeth, you can see where I've bolted them together to try to get some rigidity, additional rigidity out of it. But the problem is that they weren't lining up across the bottom. So basically what I did was I took them off, bolted them together, ran them through the mill, and just machined, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 thou off of the bottom all the way across, so that they are completely uniform, much tighter bends. Because what was going on was, you'd get over here and it's 10 thousandths high. Well, you know, if that's the end of your piece, if you're doing an end cap between here and here, and it's 10 thou high on this one, you're just not gonna, I mean, it might be a 30-degree bend or whatever at both ends, but it's like a half a degree off, and a half a degree off makes a difference. Just like with, you know, when something's supposed to be square, sorta doesn't cut it. It either is or it isn't, right? And so things like that, having a bend that's slightly off up here, when I'm relying on these bends to set up and jig this together and tack it down and make a part, if it's not 100% the same on both sides, it makes it very difficult to make a good part. Something else I came up with is the spacing. When I start to tack this together, I came up with a tool so that I'm sure to set this, because I was always just eyeballing it. And so, you know, if you're half a millimeter wider where you tack it at this end than that end, then running down it, all of a sudden it's a hair off. And so I made these spacers, and when I go to start tacking this up, I know it's exactly the same, so long as these bends are perfectly where they need to be. Because if the bend is off, obviously it's still not going to work. So, you know, there's a lot going on. If you're watching this channel and you think for even 1 second that you're just going to go buy some aluminum and hop in and try to produce a pannier that looks anything like this, it's taken me, I've been building these since 2008, and this is going to be the best batch that I've ever produced. Like, these are all just amazing. Like, when you go to tack the box together and it looks, the end cap goes on there and it looks like this, it's incredibly difficult to do. And if you can get it to look like that when you go to tack it together, no fudge factor, you're definitely onto something. This box is perfectly square. It's been a long road trying to get to that, I'll tell you what. But anyway, not to toot my own horn, but it's really difficult to do. And that's what I'm always chasing. I want to produce the best box that I possibly can. And the truth is, like, you know, if there is a little something just a hair bit off, like, I've never had anybody come back to me and say, hey, this box isn't right or whatever. Like, just because there's something maybe a little hair off or whatever, I may know about it, but the end user just definitely isn't going to. Check out my tubing bender. I finally set this up. This has been sitting in the other shop for, I don't know, close to 2 years. I bought this and I just hadn't really gotten into using it. I want to start producing more side case frames, and part of that is that the frames that I produce take a lot of cutting and a lot of welding, where I could speed things up if I used a tubing bender. And so I bought this and I just haven't really gotten into it. Finally brought it over and I made my first bend. Actually, Asher was playing with I made a bend in some, here's my first bend. 1-inch thick walled tubing, and like it bent that like it just wasn't anything. So what I really want to do is side case frames out of 5/8. 5/8 tubing, which seems to be like an industry standard. Like a lot of adventure motorcycle side case frames are built out of 5/8. Man, I've had a hell of a time just sourcing this stuff. I know of a place in Oregon where I can get it. I did find a place here in Washington where I can get it, but I have to order it from them. And they're saying like 2 weeks to get it, which I just find that to be really just nuts, because everybody's building stuff out of that tubing. As to why it's so hard to get, I don't know. So I still would need to, for this machine, I would need to get the parts to do 5/8. This is set up for 1-inch right now. I've got a 2-inch die over there. So this machine came with a 2-inch die, a 1-inch die, and a 1/2-inch die. So I need to get 5/8 and jump in and see if I can't. I'm hoping that I could really speed up the production of side case frames and add a bunch more bikes like Africa Twins. There's just a bunch of stuff out there where, you know, if I offered one-click shopping for like 3-box sets with the frames and everything, where all you had to do is just like click your mouse and everything comes, like that would be like an industry first. Like you can't do that currently anywhere. I want to change that. It's one of the things, you know, I've been thinking about doing a website for, you know, since about 2008. I may eventually just jump in and do that and make it so that you can buy everything in one fell swoop. You know, a lot of people just don't really know what they need. Like I take calls all the time from people that are like, they just don't know what to do to get side cases put on their bikes. So I would really like to simplify that. Although every single person that's bought panniers since 2008 has directly dealt with me on the phone. That may eventually change. And that's kind of a bummer, because that's part of what I really enjoy, is actually talking to fellow riders. So anyway, I'm going to get back to work. Eric Solobox, ride safe, everybody. Hope to talk to you all soon.